Well, hello there, watching the press preview. A first look at what is on the front pages. Time to see what's making the headlines then with the Daily Mirror's associate editor, Kevin Maguire, and the Daily Mail columnist, Amanda Platell. Welcome to both of you.
Thank you.
Plenty to discuss, as we will see. So let's kick off with the Daily Telegraph, saying that today's autumn statement saw the biggest tax cuts since the 1980s after the 2% cut in national insurance. On the tax cuts, the Daily Mail says, let's hope it's just the start. The Guardian says the £20 billion of tax cuts suggest the Tories have moved on to an election footing. The Times says that Jeremy Hunt has eased the tax burden. The Eye leads on the tax burden being at a record high despite the national insurance cut for millions. The Financial Times highlights concerns that although business and personal taxes have been cut by £20 billion, the overall burden on the taxpayer is still growing. While the Mirror calls the Chancellor's statement a swizz as they ask, do they take us all for fools as national insurance is cut but the tax burden grows? And the Metro suggests that introducing some of the measures in January rather than at the start of the tax year in April may be a sign that an election could be coming soon. The Sun then, New Year's Wahey is the Sun's take on Jeremy Hunt's announcements today. I hope I pronounced that properly, Kevin.
We were struggling over that. Is it Wahey or Wahey?
Oh, I thought you meant the new in the year.
Wahey.
Quick reminder, by scanning the QR code you'll see on screen during the programme, you can check out the front pages of tomorrow's newspapers while you watch us. So let's go to Kevin and Amanda, and no doubt everyone in the Treasury and in number 11 Downing Street will be tuning in to see what the papers, how they, react to this. It's how the nation reacts, often is it not? And it seems to be two things. Yes, the tax burden's falling, but goodness, isn't it still high, Amanda?
I'm afraid that the Tory party will be rather disappointed with the headlines, even from supporting newspapers like The Sun, who, for instance, have campaigned forever not to put any more tax on booze. And, of course, they managed to get in their little two-paragraph intro saying, and there's not been any tax on booze. But even they say, but the overall tax burden's on course to hit a post-World War II record. And the Daily Mail, we are behind the Conservative government. We do believe there's something serious about Rishi, and we welcome all of these. God, I sound like I'm the royal family. We welcome these tax cuts. They're brilliant, and it's going to make a lot of difference to a lot of people. But even it's a cautionary headline.
Yeah, but you're right. They do look in government for the front pages, because it's not just people who buy papers. It's not just people who watch them on TV and reviews. They see them in shops and newsagents. If you're going to buy something else, or you're in a supermarket, they're on a stand. They're kind of like posters. So they put great emphasis on them. They want to win them.
It's like snap polling in some respects.
It is, and they'll see their wins and their losses. I think they'll see the Sun as a win. I think
overall,
yeah.
Back to the Sun, yeah.
And the Sun had campaigned against any increase in fuel duty.
And there was also the white van man reduction in NI for them specifically.
Yeah. But you're right about even the Sun has the qualification on course to hit a post-World War II record, the tax take. But they will be slightly more worried. I think it'll take you as a win in the Mail, but they will be in that big red writing across the middle, but with total burden still vast. And that's a challenge when you say, let's hope it's just a start.
But the other thing is that never underestimate how seriously the newspapers take, the political parties take this. I mean, they will be getting a briefing even before you got it, Anna, on the front pages, and they'll be sitting there and going, was hoping better in the Mail, Sun, well, it's kind of a hit if you don't read into it. Just don't read any of the other papers.
Jeremy Hunt will have probably called the editors of The Sun and the Mail and the Express and the Telegraph, the Times afterwards, possibly not the Guardian or the Mirror, probably called the FT.
Don't take my editor's name in vain.
No, but I think that's right. No, I think it's right. You have an exchange. It doesn't mean you have to follow what they say when you get the call. I think it's good that editors are called, but you can't get away, and the FT pick up on it. You just can't get away. The tax burden surging despite Hunt cuts, as the FT does across. So 10 billion on national insurance, £9 a week for those who get it. Interestingly, he went for national insurance, not income tax, because pensioners would have got the income tax cut, because there's about a quarter of women over 66 and a third of men over 66 who work, so will pay income tax, but you don't pay national insurance once you go past that age, so they won't get the benefit from this. But this so-called fiscal drag freezing up until, was it 28, 29, the rate that income tax come in roughly took 12,500 basic, 50,000 when you go up to the 40p rate, as the figures the Financial Times points out, because it's all in the documents, I read it myself. There are going to be 4 million low-paid people paying income tax who weren't before. 3 million people are going up from higher. Their rate will go up from 20 to 40p.
All that is true, but you've got pensioners have been given more than they expected, nearly 10% increase. You've got...
That's an inflation...
But it doesn't matter. Kevin, the top line for a lot of people who, we are very sophisticated people.
Speak for yourself.
We make a very informed and sophisticated analysis in papers. Lots of people do just see the headlines and they will say, pensioners, we're safe. They'll say, the working, the basic...
National insurance.
National insurance, that's a cut. That's a triumph for 27 million people. And there are feel-good things in this. The pensioners feel safe, which is great, and also the basic wage is significantly increased. And those are good messages which go out in headlines.
Because it's a very broad spread
and
of
they're
winners.
Working
we normally do the winners and losers.
But don't we want to get to the truth? Don't we want to get to the truth? The truth is in the documents, and you see he's given a bit with one hand and he's taking back far more with the other.
Let me put this to you, that what he's also done, what the Tories have done, is that they have targeted ordinary working-class people. Who gives a damn about the fiscal drag? Because they're people that, according to a lot of the people...
They're ordinary working-class people.
You've got to let me finish. You've got to let me finish my sentence for once. Can we do that for a change, Anna?
Stop talking, Kevin.
Hang on, you've fallen for her spin there.
The majority of these headline initiatives are for ordinary working-class people or pensioners. And the people who are disadvantaged are, you've got to be earning 51,000 or for that top bracket. I just think the top line is something that they've done very cleverly, because what the Labour Party can't turn around and say is you're only looking after the rich. Because what they're doing is they're looking... And I think the Tories have actually stolen They've stolen your thunder, and they've also... or your ground, and they've set an incredible trap for...
Just wait me up when you're finished. I mean, it was rather a long monologue.
By doing national insurance, you target workers, and this is,
they've set Labour a trap. Is the Labour Party going to come and say we're not going to do this, or going to revert?
No, I think Labour normally now just say whatever the Conservative government is doing, we will do, with a few exceptions. But who are the 4 million low-paid workers who will pay income tax for the first time, other than working-class voters? The 3 million higher payers who'll go over the 50,000 limit, so their marginal rate will double from 20 to 40p. They're probably more likely to be Daily Mail readers. But the tax burden, the overall take, will be the highest in the post-war period.
But it's been eased if we look there. I mean, only recently there was no suggestion of any tax cuts at all.
Exactly.
Clearly, the mood has changed. The electoral polling does not look good.
That's what's changed.
Yes.
But because the polling hasn't changed,
and there is
why they've changed.
There is also more money because, there's inflationary pressure on wages, and the tax threshold, the fiscal drag, the tax threshold has stayed the same. So they've got more money in the whole tax take. So there is spare money.
Yeah, well, if they've got more money, people haven't, because, again, Ed Conway's picked up the figures. They're quite clear in the OBR report. People are going to be worse off. Their disposable income is going to be lower at the next election.
Because of inflationary pressure.
Well, the money for the national insurance cut and the business money is effectively going to be paid by public service cuts. Yeah. So if your kid's in a school, I'm sorry, you might get an extra 8 or 9 quid. National insurance, which you will welcome. It won't go anywhere near to covering your higher food bills, but you'll get it anyway.
It's still nearly 500 quid that you weren't expecting.
You're going to pay.
I'm sorry, if you think that's trivial, then you're not living in the real world.
You're going to pay in terms of worse services. And polling shows people put a greater emphasis now on improving public services.
So that's your line there, more austerity to fund election bribes. That's basically the sum up of the Mirror's take on this.
Yeah.
And that is the problem, isn't there? Where is the money for extra public spending to sort out the backlog in the NHS, for example, or even for those who are still striking in the health service? Nobody's mentioned social care, massive shortage of teachers, maths teachers in secondary schools, for example. Where's all the solving of that happening here?
politics and leading up to elections is about simple messages. And what you do is you sit down, as I've done in an election, and which we only won one extra seat from, I have to say. I'm not saying laying any claim to any great success. Simple messages that hit your target audience and try and undermine your opposition. And for supporting working class people, the Tories have moved their tanks onto Labour's law.
Just quickly, yeah.
I remember back before,
you can't do quickly.
Before 1997, Ken Clarke cut income tax by a penny. I remember that Tory papers were, hey, great, here we go. Zero political credit. And I think that may happen again. This is the 5th relaunch. When you consider you had the net zero relaunch, Sunak had his conference speech relaunch, then you had the state opening relaunch, then you had the reshuffle relaunch, when we brought back Cameron, which then went against the conference speech relaunch, which is about getting rid of the older consensus. This is the 5th relaunch, effectively.
But what they've done is they've kept the powder
I'm not
dry.
sure it'll work.
Everyone was gagging for tax cuts. He's kept his own party happy, and he's appealed to an electorate which are normally safe Labour voters.
I think you've... No,
I think
I think you've got it with his own party. I think that's what it's about.
OK,
Hunter's gone back on what he was going to do. I think it's his party.
Yeah. Anyways, it is fascinating, isn't it, to digest. Next up, though, we'll take a look at a moving story. Could the Israel-Hamas conflict be about to enter a new phase? Take a look at the timings of what we expect to come as well in just a moment. You're watching the press preview with me once again, Kevin Maguire and Amanda Platell from the Mirror and the Mail. Welcome back to both of you. So this ceasefire, hostage deal, we watch and we wait, beginning to get some timings. The Israelis saying hostages won't come out before Friday. Suggestion from Hamas that the ceasefire could start at 10 a.m. local time on Thursday. But it seems so sensitive and so complicated, in fact, to get them safely out, that there's a lot to go to then, Kevin.
No, and can you imagine if you're a family member waiting for information on your loved one, get the name, are they on the list, will they become free, are they alive, are they dead, what condition they are. But you look at that picture on the front of the Guardian of Gaza City, the flare over it, you just look at that devastation, and you're quite right, what's going to... The fighting halts for 4 days, you're going to get... Hamas are going to try and sneak... They're not going to have them emerge from wherever they were holding.
How do they come?
And the Israelis are going to be having huge surveillance to try and find out, which is, understandable on both sides.
And how do you get those people out of safety? You sort of, when you hear that they're going to be, will they walk together? Will the Palestinian prisoners walk onto a bridge somewhere? And will the Israeli hostages, will they, do they have to meet somebody? Do they have to guarantee? Because surely Israel's not going to release 150 Palestinian convicted people. They said not murderers or killers, things like that. They're not going to release them until they know that their people are safe and alive.
Yeah, but
how do you negotiate that?
The Palestinians are women and children. They're not fighters. And the Palestinians consider them hostages. Yeah. And groups in Israel, too, are worried about human rights abuses and some of the people who are arrested, detained and convicted by Israel.
And charged at times as well.
Absolutely. But in this tragedy, and it's been an absolute terrible tragedy, this is a glimmer of hope, a bit of light.
And when Netanyahu...
You don't know how long it'll last.
There were three. There was Netanyahu and then 2 other officials. One, I think there was the leader of the opposition, the third person who spoke this evening. And they all... you can see the terror in their eyes, and they kept saying, this is the hardest decision we've ever had to make, and we pray to God that this will work. Even at this last minute, they don't know. They say, we guarantee we're going to keep the war, we'll keep bombing, the war will go on, but we're giving it this window, and we pray we've made the right decision.
Well, the policy in Israel, Netanyahu and his allies, is to destroy Hamas. Well, they're now having to negotiate with Hamas.
You can't destroy Hamas.
And that doesn't mean...
Without killing the hostages.
Exactly. And it's just a reality. You have to... If some groups have got 240 hostages, you have to speak and negotiate with them, just on humanitarian grounds. But you hope... Yeah. You hope the worst of the fighting is over, or at least I hope the worst of the fighting is over. That doesn't mean Israel isn't going to go after Hamas in the future, but so many innocent Palestinians have died along the way. So many innocent Israelis have died in this conflict.
OK, run out of time. Apologies, Amanda. We will talk more, no doubt.